This is a quick demonstration of the power of Google Notebook LM. Basically, you can see here I'm in the notebook area and I'm going to add some resources. So I'm going to choose my file, go to downloads, the inquiry process, and the chapter on robotics. And go open. Okay, so the inquiry process here, if I just click on there, you'll see that it explains the process of doing an inquiry for digital society. So it goes through and helps understand what they need to do when they're doing an inquiry in IB Digital Society. And the robotics PDF basically is the content of this chapter of the book. So that's the course material and an inquiry process. So one of the first things I can get doing is I can click on Notebook Guide here, and I want to do like a podcast, but I can customize it. So I can say, these were the and this and then just go generate. So now what's going to happen is while I work on other things related to these documents, in the background, there is an audio podcast being created. So now if I wanted to, I could just go to a briefing doc. And what this will give me is a summary of my source material. As you can see, what it's generating there, it also generates different questions that you might want to ask of the core text. So here's the briefing doc. So it gives me a summary of types and characteristics of robots, evolution of robots, ethical and social dilemmas, defining a robot, etc., etc., etc. So there's loads of information there that the students can use, or you can just copy and paste that and provide that as a fact sheet or briefing doc for the kids. The other thing you can then do is, if I get a notebook, is you could have a frequently asked questions, which is quite cool as well. While we're waiting for this to happen, the other thing to be aware of is currently this is only available for 18 and above, so you can have access to it, but your students cannot currently. So there you go. What is the difference between a service robot and a social robot? What is the uncanny valley and why is it important? What are some of the ethical dilemmas? So you get some frequently asked questions which pull that information from that core text as well. And then this one is really nice. If I go here and get a notebook and go to study guide, this in theory is what you'd use, the students would use, but you can take these questions and answers and put them into like a Google form or a Microsoft form and actually use that for the students to answer questions on as well. So if I wanted to, if I'm like, what is the uncanny valley? I can ask that question so that you've got some quizzes, comprehensive style quizzes, and the quiz answer key, and you've got some essay style questions. So you can look at this and you can like see what you want to use and what you don't want to use with your students. So you've got an abundance of resources here. If I don't know what the uncanny valley is, I can just go, what is this uncanny valley that we're talking about? And there we go. We've got the ability to copy it. We can save it as a note. And there it goes. And also, which is really clever, it shows you links to the source material. So where it's finding that source material from in here. Okay, so that's all there as well. And I could just save that note. And I've got that, the uncanny valley. Now we go back to Notebook Guide. It's still generating. It might take a little bit longer. So what else can we do? So I am teaching this topic to a web class. Can you generate an 80-minute lesson plan today? Will process. All right, so now it's doing that. So you can see whether or not Google Notebook can come up with an ideal lesson plan to help think about how to deliver this chapter. Okay, so there we go. We've got learning objectives, lesson activity, understand the uncanny valley, inquiry-based activity, inquiry process, group presentations, reflect, etc., etc. So you can take that, I can save that note, and then we can use that further. Now, if I just go back here now, and I press play on here.
Welcome to our deep dive, everybody, into the world of robots. You ready to uncover some seriously fascinating advancements in robotics?
Absolutely. I think it's incredible how these machines are reshaping pretty much everything. Industries, lives, the whole nine yards.
And today we're going beyond just the basics. We'll explore the different types of robots out there, how they've evolved over time, and the impact they're having on, well, everyone, really.
What's mind-blowing is how robots are not just like simple machines anymore.
Right.
We're talking about robots that can actually learn, adapt, make decisions. Sometimes they even outperform humans in specific tasks.
It's wild, isn't it? So before we go full speed ahead into the future of robotics, let's take a step back. Let's define what a robot actually is.
Yeah, good idea.
It's not just any machine that moves around or does something, right?
Nope, definitely not.
The key things that make a robot are programmability and autonomy, meaning you can program them to do.
So that is a great podcast. The really cool thing is you can click here and you can download it, and then it downloads as a .wav file, a WAV file, which means you can then share that as an audio file. And once you've downloaded it, you could delete it, and then you could do another different focused podcast to get a different audio looking at something different. So maybe how could I use the inquiry process to work through robotics, and then there'd be a podcast discussing that as well. So you get the opportunity to generate multiple podcasts from the same resource. And that is a whistle stop tour through how you can use GoogleLM to help create